All right. So this idea came to me while doing some holiday gift shopping, but I think the idea applies for for all kinds of shopping. Really, even if you're buying something for yourself, it's less of a problem if you're buying it for yourself. It's really more useful for scenarios where where you have a mailing address that is not really your own. So you're either mailing it something related to work, to a business, or it's something that you're sending to a friend or whatever it is. And the reason why I think it's an important idea is because we know from all the research that's done, the checkout flow is the most critical part of the process. It's one of the most critical parts of the process. And one of the big advantages of Amazon is that if you have an Amazon account, you just have to kind of click on the checkout button and log into your account, and you're pretty much done. And so they've really created a frictionless environment where many smaller retailers suffer because, if I'm buying for the first time from a retailer and I don't ever plan to buy again, creating an account is kind of painful, so I certainly won't do it. And even kind of entering my credit card information and all of that stuff, like every single time I'm placing an order, it's a point of friction. And so anything we can do to improve that is a great idea. So let's just look at a scenario over here. This specific idea that I have applies to when the shipping address that you're putting or the mailing address that you're putting is something that is not your own address. So let me just walk you through the scenario. So let's say I'm doing some gift shopping. I'm trying to buy some coffee cake. I select what I'm looking for. I click on add to cart. I'll remove this one because that's not what I'm getting. All right, so now I click on the checkout button, and there is an option for add recipient. So I click on that, and obviously it's first time purchase, so I'll click on add new address, and then this interface shows up. This is very standard for all e-commerce websites. I'm sure you've seen it 1,000 times. And so the format basically is there's a text box, so first name, last name, company, which is always optional, address line 1, address line 2, city, state, zip code, blah blah blah. Now, if I have the Chrome browser and I have the autofill put in, then of course that will auto populate it. So that's not really a problem. And of course, if it's my own address, then I obviously will break down my address from the address to city and stuff like that. But in this instance, specifically in this instance, I'm sending this out as a gift to either a client or to a friend. And so I text them and I say, hey, what's your mailing address? Or I've stored it in my address book. That address is usually in a format like this. It's just one string. And so what happens now is I have to come here, I have to copy this in line 1, then I come back and then I put the city. So I'll put the city over here, okay? And then for state, I pick the drop down. Because remember, this is not in my Chrome autofill. So that's not an option. So I come here, I select Michigan, then I select the zip code, right? So here was my idea. So this is obviously adding a certain degree of friction. So my idea in very simple terms is this. I'm just gonna try to get rid of all this because that eliminates that. Okay, so let's say there's no state selected. Let's kind of go back to a clean slate. And the idea is simply that we in the address first line, we can put a little bit of conditional code, a little bit of like smart code that says, obviously if someone's putting in, for example, this, then it's obvious this is what they mean. However, the scenario that I'm trying to gun for is, imagine if someone puts in this, right? There should be a mechanism, an auto mechanism in the backend, where it then parses out all of this and then pre-populates it. So it takes this, it knows that this is address 1, it automatically removes everything and kind of puts this for city, Grand Ledge, for state it auto selects Michigan, and then refills the zip code. Now I know this is technically not a very difficult thing, because I've seen a bunch of interfaces where if I put a telephone number, let's say I'm going to put some random number. I've seen lots of websites that like when you get out of this field, it'll kind of automatically set it up like this. Sorry, like this. So we know that from a coding perspective, this these kind of things aren't kind of tricky. So my idea basically is when someone pastes in the address field the whole address, and again I do realize this is going to be a limited use case. It's not like 80% of people will follow this format, but maybe 8%, maybe 10% of people will kind of be sending it to someone else, and they'll have their whole address like this. And they should just be easily able to paste it over here and have the text, have the code itself parse it out and kind of separate it out into the various options. Again, simple idea. It was just a thought I had for how we could potentially reduce friction on the checkout flow, and anything we can do on the checkout flow to reduce friction, even if it's like by just 1%, to me is worth it. So I wanted to present this idea. Thanks, guys.